We can see everything turning around. Everything turning around. Everything turning around for my good. Conscious Nigerian workers. Indefatigable Nigerian workers. Hard-working Nigerian workers. Greatest of the greatest of the greatest Nigerian workers. So, Nigerian workers, we wish to inform you today that our own party, the party founded by the labor movement, we have the presidential candidate in the last election of the party. He's here with us today. I'm extremely delighted and happy to inform us that we have Comrade Peter Obi. His Excellency is here with us today. We wish to invite him to say a few words to us before we progress. Great Nigerian workers!
We gather in many parts of the world in celebration of work. Without work, the society as we know it today fails without work. Wealth creation becomes impossible. Our gathering is to honor those who make the world of work possible. Men and women without whom the world of work becomes impossible. It is indeed a day chosen to celebrate the very existence of our societies, for without work, the society ceases to exist. Today is therefore a celebration of the very basics of society and the globe thus. It is a celebration of the pivotal role which workers have played and continue to play to sustain humanity. At this moment, in our inaugural May Day, as President, we bring you warm felicitations from leadership of both Congresses and their various organs, especially the mass of Nigerian workers who toil day and night to create the enormous wealth that has sustained our nation in the midst of the mindless theft, misuse of resources generated by workers, by those occupying the besiding our various corridors of power. Organized labor in Nigeria welcome you all. Comrades and guests, it is with great pride and honor that we celebrate the great men and women whose efforts have built the great cities of the world. Men and women who have worked day and night to keep our nations going in the face of wanton deprivations. Workers who against all odds, both human and material, kept our societies supplied and serviced. Indeed, it is a celebration of the resilience and deserving annual tribute to workers who in the midst of insurgency kept working. That group who were on salary arrears, running into months, yet they kept the machinery of state operational. That group who were hounded and denied their democratic rights, yet they persevered. That special group of people who were denigrated and taunted by the ruling elite, but have kept trotting out of their love for humanity and our nation. That special breed of persons who jump into the mines to extract resources and turn them into finished products for the benefits of society. This is our day. We salute you carpenters, woodworkers, mechanics, engineers, pilots, road sweepers, construction workers, domestic workers, those that work to lay the pipelines, the electricians, and the technologists, the nurses, doctors, lawyers, secretaries, sportsmen and women, operators, those who produce our food and beverages, agricultural workers, teachers, and at various levels, engineers, technicians, and indeed, those who engender the creation of wealth all around the world. We offer our hearts for you. It is not that we are comfortable that we celebrate. It is not that we are not exploited. Neither is it that we are not emasculated. It is not that we are not denied, pauperized, and afflicted. Our celebration is the recognition of our fundamental role in breathing life into our societies. It is born out of recognition of the near-divine parasite duty to global sustainability and understanding shaped by the fact that workers remain the only key to life. We may have gone unappreciated, but we realize that without us, Nigeria and all nations of the world will become dysfunctional. No wheel can turn anywhere in the world without us. You cannot continue treating us poorly and expect a miracle from us. We are shaped by how we are treated, and as anything that happens to us in the world of work impacts us positively or negatively, causing us to either withdraw to commit more work. It is therefore very simple. If our social partners want more from us, if they want increased productivity, which is the basis for national development, then they must be prepared to treat us better. They must be prepared to treat us first as humans, then as major contributors to the wealth creation. That is why we have chosen to celebrate ourselves this year under the theme Workers' Rights and Socio-Economic Justice, through which we seek to remind ourselves and the society of the critical nexus between the welfare of workers and the socio-economic rights and privileges, because, as we say, workers' rights are human rights. The dynamics of workers' rights shape the character and quality of life within the socio-economic framework. Workers' welfare is central to the achievements of socio-economic justice, which is key to national global sustainability, the realization and without crafting a more responsible and creative way of organizing production and distribution of global resources, that we may be embarking upon a collective journey to doom, a collective race to bottom, led to the core of a rethink of the existing economic world order. This eventually led to the creation of platforms to foster a more inclusive world that would build a new globe that ensures shared responsibilities and shared outcomes built on equality. Equity, fairness, and justice underpins the survival of societies and create resilience for nations in the midst of upheavals and turbulence. It provides a belief thus buy-in for all critical segments of the society, allowing continuous solidarity and cohesion within the desperate groups of the society. Every nation needs the criticality to make progress. Nigeria should be noted, needs the presence of this mass jumpstart the process of development. This is why even the drafters of the Constitution recognizes the essence of socio-economic justice as critical to our nation's development. Chapter 2 of the Constitution, dealing with the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, specifically speaks to these rights, though it has remained unjustifiable thus far in our nation. Section 14 to 24 indeed further attests to the desire of the Constitution to ensure protection of these rights across our nation. That is why we keep saying that it is unfortunately the character of leadership that determines the fulfillment of socio-economic justice. It is therefore our responsibility to ensure that the right characters assess leadership position as to guarantee and protect the rights of workers as an adjunct to socio-economic justice. Poor wages exclude, increased decent work deficit alienates, abuse of workplace rights and privileges dishonors, unpaid salaries strips workers of their humanity, violation of rules, engagements defies, harassment and intimidation of workers humiliates and refusal to grant access to social infrastructure for workers reduces. Poor nutrition, increasing number of working poor, and restricted access to decent housing, health, education combined to dehumanize and subjugate the rights of Nigerian workers. Subjugating workers' rights subjugates the entire society. Socio-economic justice allows for a more equitable, fair and just globe, especially in the midst of the inexorable march of globalization and its attendant consequences of increased alienation and polarization of the society, thus exacerbating of the intense struggle between the existing classes, groups and cleavages in our nation. The SDGs and its predecessors, MDGs, with all their weaknesses, are products of this thinking, which are becoming bedrocks of global action against the imperfections of the current dominant ideology and the subsequent world order. It is on record that socio-economic justice about 16,000 children die every day globally before celebrating their 5th birthday, mostly from the preventable causes, meaning that almost 70 million children under the age of 5 will die by 2030. It is, if nothing is done, and a third of these deaths occur because they are of undernutrition. These are children of workers. Once, it is a critical reminder that society cannot make progress if workers are not treated fairly. It is a reminder of the centrality of the worker in determining social inclusion, which is key to sustainability. In essence, we seek to underlay the importance of championing the cause of workers and see it as a source of driving social progress. Nigerians and Nigerian workers need evidence of the commitment of the Nigerian leaders to ensuring their safety, their security, their progress, and eventually their liberty. It is only the proof of this that can reconnect the masses and workers with the government. In our celebration this year, we seek to re-establish the mutuality of positive relationship between nature and quality of the way workers are treated and the depth of socio-economic justice that exists within our societies, especially in Nigeria. This relationship is mutually reinforcing as it has a wide, complex implication of our society. Deeper protection of rights and privileges of workers ensures greater socio-economic justice, which leads in building a nation that is more cohesive and is able to withstand the issues and powers of centrifuge that seeks its disintegration. It is therefore not charity or dash when workers' salaries are improved. It is not a giveaway when we insist on better deal for workers who are these that lay the golden egg. It is neither self-seeking to ask for more decent work compliance in our workplaces, nor group speak when we articulate, protect, and project our rights as key social partners. It is truly out of our love and commitment to the survival of the nation that we seek the fulfillment of these rights. All these inject positive multipliers into our societies, thus make our nation better and more progressive. We must deliberately and collectively seek the protection of workplace rights to protect our nation. It is a collective duty and surest path to build a nation, as our national anthem summarizes it, where peace and justice shall reign. State of our movement. Comrades, our movement remains stronger than ever before. We are on a rebound of cost, overwhelming most of the challenges of the past. Efforts are being made to reinvent ourselves, digging deep into ourselves and resolving the internal contradictions within the movement. This will help us to purge ourselves of getting subtleties that weigh us down so that we can build greater strength and capacities to engage realities that confront us both as workers and people. To this end, we are beginning to resolve the identify crises of some industrial unions and state councils. However, the challenges still abound. These are both within and without ranks, while others generate by those forces who lack requisite understanding of our trade union presence. As a result, our movement continues to experience threats and attacks from the forces who are determined to corner unduly larger percentages of the Earth's resources to the detriment of workers and global majority. They seek to weaken and strangulate trade unions as a credible voice and platform for the articulation and protection of rights and privileges of workers and masses. Rights to organize collective bargaining, include to freely associate, have variously been trampled upon by the forces, especially in our climb, with brazen impunity. We remind you that some state governments continue to refuse to comply with the provisions of the 2019 National Minimum Wage Act, while some others have pocketed deducted check-off dues belonging to the trade unions. Some private sector employers have begun to act in total disregard to our laws, and at various routes of engagement governing industrial relations in our country. Flagrant disobedience of our laws is abhorrent. Thus, all employers that are not complying with the dictates of our excellent labor laws should be prepared for more robust engagement with organized labor. That's a signal to them. Recently, we engaged the government of Abia State and they signed an agreement. However, Imo State under Hope Uzodinma has posed a peculiar challenge to the rights of workers. That state government sponsored a violent attack on the NLC in the state, disrupting state delegates conference organized to elect new leaders of the Congress in the state. This was because the workers resisted attempt by the state government to impose issues on them, which is believed will continue to collude with it to continue inflicting pains and reign of terror on public servants in the state. Currently, worker salary in the state are in arrears. Pensions have gone unpaid. Workers are declared ghost workers, while on their duty posts, leave allowances and gratuities remain unpaid, as the government has broken all records of impunity against workers in Nigeria. To show its contempt for dialogue, the state government, without reason, aborted signing of agreement which it had reached with us to resolve the dispute arising from its ill-treatment of workers. The government uses violence against its workers and was responsible for invading, ransacking, and stripping our national secretariat in Owerri. We have since reported this incident to the International Labour Organization, and we continue to pursue it until it is satisfactorily resolved in favor of Imo State workers. Despite these challenges, the beautiful thing, though, is that our response are very critical in determining the outcome. This singular understanding means that our destiny remains in our hands. We must therefore continue to rebuild our movement so that our responses to these forces will be more creative and robust to yield the desired outcome for our members and trade unions. As part of our response, comrades, with your permission, we shall mount a robust campaign rising from this celebration against all states, all private sector employers involved in the denial and dehumanization of workers all over the nation. We shall continue to work with the register of trade unions to give voice to all strata of workers whose voices are mute because no trade union is currently representing them. And we shall continue to insist on deepening and expanding our engagement at the National Labour Advisory Council to ensure that our extant laws and statutes remain in sync with international best practices and current realities. Comrades, the National Union of Road Transport Workers is under attack by some Southwest governors who claim to have disbanded the union in their domains. This is unacceptable and a total breach of our Constitution and the laws governing industrial relations. We must stand together now more than ever before to withstand the forces that are crystallizing against us. The nation needs us. The masses need us. Market men and women need us. Students and other different segments of the society across the geopolitical spread need us. We must stand together with them. Our strength is in standing together, both as workers and as people. We can make history. We will make history.
Yes.
It is possible.
Yes.
Come, comrades, come, fellow soldiers, let us make history together. Our nation needs us. Let us recreate Nigeria, the paradise we all dread, we want only to build by us. No one will do it for us, but it starts today with our collective decision to stop impunity in every facet of our nation's life. It comes with a determination to fight all forces of retrogression. It comes with a single-minded pursuit of the enthronement of equity, fair pay, and justice in every area of our engagement as a nation. This is why it is critical that we begin by enthroning justice for Nigerian workers through the drive for eradication of all untoward industrial relations practices in our various workplaces, state of the nation. It is totally shocking listening to ethnic profiling and violence that has erupted during and after the last general election, which is all portends the danger of our nation. The use of inflammatory words that deepens our national cleavages remains unacceptable, and the attempt to ban some groups in certain ways to muzzle speech and criminalize holding of opposing views speak to the level of intolerance that pervades our nation. Nigeria transcends individual or narrow political interests. Whatever kind, those that insist on placing their personal interests above that of our nation are the real enemies of this country. We condemn in unmistakable terms the idea behind the use of violence to intimidate and cow segments of the country to submission. When sane dialogue, mutual respect would have sufficed.
Yes.
The just concluded general election remained the most hotly contested in the history of electioneering in the country, and the reasons are obvious. However, it is also the most distorted, corrupted, and abused. It marked a dangerous watershed in our political engagement as a people and as a nation. It brought with it good opportunities for our nation to turn the corner and become great, or continue to dwell in the cesspit of underdevelopment. On this note, we call on the judiciary to exercise due diligence in its handling of various election petitions presently before them. Nigerians expect the processes to be transparent and keeping with the rules of the game and avoid actions that will further alienate them from the people. We see in the present election petition good opportunities for the nation judiciary to redeem itself, restore its dignity, and ascend that moral height once again as the revered true champion of the people and our nation. Our promise is that trade union movement in Nigeria, using its various networks, will monitor diligently the handling of various petitions in our different courts to ensure that justice is done, with all the judiciary to stop the delay. I'll hand over to my colleague from the TUC to continue from the state of the economy.
COCFO, follow the leader. Thank you so much, my president. So I take it up from there. The economy is on autopilot, struggling on its own to survive, while those entrusted to manage it kept throwing fees and injecting toxins into it. It is serially abused and has therefore become one of the most mismanaged economies in the world. All the key macroeconomic variables are not promising, with inflation at double digits, unemployment worsening and rising, and at nearly 40%, with the youth unemployment very high at 65%, exchange rate depreciation steeply, while the debt stock keep piling. The two broad instruments for a successful management of any economy, as experts have pointed out, remain having the right mix of monetary policies and fiscal policies. These are supposed to be working in sync to create an effective and a successful economic system. But to all intents and purposes, the reverse is the case in our system, as we have witnessed terrifying discordancy between the managers of the two elements in our country. The CBN currency redesign effort, for example, was a good policy that was badly managed because it was not properly coordinated, especially with other structures of governance. So rather than achieve the expected result, it created deep dissonance in the system, which inflicted homogeneous suffering on the populace, destroying in the process the lives and livelihood of millions of Nigerians. The informal economy lost between 50% of its businesses, while productivity shrunk to about 41%, and the entire economy took hit, estimated in hundreds of billions of naira. It took our systemic intervention, comrades, to correct this aberration and save our nation. Our debt profile as a nation must worry every patriot, and it worries us, not just as workers, but as citizens of Nigeria. We have warned repeatedly of the danger of excessive borrowing of foreign exchange, dominated loans, and alerted the nation of the inherent danger, urging the nation's economic manager to desist. But all this fell on deaf ears, with some very unfortunate attempts at justification. The prodigious borrowing has also left our national economy stranded and physically insufficient. It is projected by the Debt Management Office, DMO, that by next month, our total public debt will be about 77 trillion naira, meaning that by the time this administration exits on the 29th of May, each Nigerian will be owing about 384,660 naira only. Today, our external debt profile stands around 42 billion USD and is increasing, and the debt to GDP about 39%. Then the most worrying, our debt servicing at 2022 to revenue stands at about 81%. But this year's budget shows that it is at 123%, meaning that we will be unable to service our debt without borrowing. This is for every 100 naira we earn as income, we need to borrow additional 23 naira from somewhere to just pay interest on our debt. Comrades, this is a solid state, and we say, hey, yeah, to the Nigerian state. Yeah. Our economy is in doldrum. We wonder why this does not scare the nation's leaders. We wonder whether they do not understand the implication of this for our nation, both now and in the near future. We wonder why they refuse to learn from the former debt trap we successfully exited under the debt management of the presidency of Obasanjo and his team, Okonjo-Iweala. We wonder why they insist on eating our future now and putting us in another savage debt trap. It looks like our nation, the only reason we borrow is to steal, because we cannot see its benefit on the people. We insist that white nation can borrow for productive reasons, such as investment in well-thought-out projects. It is unhealthy to borrow for consumption. Even a child knows this, and that is why we are surprised that at this dying period of this administration, it has decided to receive loan of $800 million as its claim to caution the suffering it plans to inflict on the masses of the nation. If this is not cash out, then it is entirely ill-advised and counterproductive, given the history of such in our country. We call on federal governments to consider the incorporation of transition fuels such as CNG as an addition to currently available energy in Nigeria. The use of compressed natural gas, which is a lot cheaper, can also be long-term alternative to petrol, thus saving Nigerians of the current and future spiral cost of petrol. We urge our economic managers to be more prudent and seek ways to deliberately diversify our economy by deepening manufacturing capacities and investing in human capital that will drive youth creativity, which is key to industrialization. We advocate a freeing of capital for MSMEs and then a deliberate direct investment by government at all levels in setting up manufacturing entities across the nation. Hiding under the neoliberal maxim that government has no business in business. Ring hollow, not true. In a weak economy like ours, government has business in business, and we must invest in business to drive economic growth in our nation. Investment in education is truly an economic investment that is why we worry that a nation that is serious about development allowed its university to be on strike for over 8 months. This is not how economies are managed, and this is how human capitals are built. The incoming administration must ensure that this does not happen again by resolving all the remaining issues with ASU, including payment of 8 months salary arrears owed to lecturers. Solidarity forever. The energy sector, comrades and guests, it is crucial that any nation that cannot manage its resources effectively and efficiently is doomed. One of the key factors holding us down as a nation is our inability to manage these sectors effectively for the benefit of its citizens and nation. Power, however, it is generated remains key to jumpstarting any economy, while oil and gas is robust energy success in every country. It is therefore crucial for government to work with the people to create framework that will make energy work for Nigeria, instead of the few who have succeeded in capturing the state. Your Excellency and comrades, the plight of energy sector has not changed 10 years since after privatization has been well documented by us, and the reasons are very obvious. As long as those who sold the companies remain the buyer, Nigeria will continue to experience serious challenges in the sector. The only way to make progress in the power sector, which is crucial to national development, is to review the privatization exercise for the purpose of a reversal. What is going on in that sector defies economic logic and reason, despite all billions in USD lavished in it. When we refrain to go to court from politicians who every electoral haste becomes rampant, it makes mockery of the judiciary and the various processes. That refrain shows that contempt with which our politicians have come to hold the court and strip the lordship, the usual reverence attached in their offices. It shows a desecration of a once hallowed entity, but which they have now besmirched. Many public commentators have heard serious dissenting views to some judgments from our hallowed temple of justice. There are instances where some judgments have departed from time-tested and honored foundation of equity, fairness, and logic, and rather relying on technicalities to decide very sensitive public interest cases. In recent times, courts of coordinate jurisdiction have delivered contradictory judgments, thus throwing the unlearned public into very serious quagmire. Which of them should we obey? Nigerians, as we speak, are still amazed at the judicial weakness of the lordship of the Supreme Court, who gave the judgment in the governorship election in Imo State. People are still surprised how a person who is not a candidate of a party was declared a winner under a party which the same Supreme Court has declared that its candidate was another person. We are still surprised who the automatic candidate for the ruling party was in the last election due to the ruling of Supreme Court. Was there a provision in our law for independent candidates? Nigerians are still astonished by the ruling of same court on the issue of the candidacy of a Senator Akpabio and Senate President Lawal for a seat in the Senate against the dictate of Electoral Act, which clearly forbade candidates from running for 2 positions in the same election. Some of the questionable rulings have greatly undermined the judiciary and deeply worried us as we go into the election petition, since mainly the same judges will preside over the processes again. We are deeply concerned and hope the judiciary will use the opportunity to redeem itself rather than sink deeper into the mud. The labor movement will watch this closely. Public service. Fellow comrades, we have consistently presented the issues of gratuity payment to the government, but nothing has been done in that regard. As you are all aware, the concept of gratuity payment to employees is predicated on the fact that those who have labored for public institutions or private enterprise are entitled to the proverbial golden handshake from their employer. Thus, gratuity is a monetary benefit given by an employer to his or her employees at the time of retirement, without the workers making financial contribution whatsoever to the fund. Such a lump sum is meant to enable the retiree finance any post-retirement endeavor of his or her choice. The Pension Act did not abolish gratuity payment, and we demand its restoration in many public sectors where it has stopped. Need for general salary review in the civil service. It is necessary to recall that we have continued over the years to demand that the salary of core civil servants should be beefed up to narrow the gap between the emolument of civil servants and those of the employees in other segments of public service. They all possess the same educational qualification and cognate experience on the job. So why the disparity? Review of retirement age to 65 for public servants. The need to review upward the retirement age and years of service in public service has become imperative. Extension of years of service, as was done in other sectors in public service, we believe will go round. Only few other establishments, including core civil service, are now left out. We are therefore demanding that the age of retirement and length of service public service, including civil servants, should be reviewed upward to 65 years of age, 40 years of service, whichever comes first. The National Research and Innovation Council Bill. The NSC and CUC call upon the outgoing government of President Muhammadu Buhari to quickly sign into law the National Research and Innovation Council Bill, which serve as one of the legacies of his administration. We believe that it will help boost research to generate much needed foundation for our nation's quest for industrialization. Without research, the quest for industrialization will turn into the pipe dream, as this remains the basic infrastructure for technological advancement of any nation. A nation is only as rich as its capacity of research and innovation. International arena. We have observed with contestation the present war mogging across Europe, Asia, and America over the war in Ukraine. We are alarmed at the nuclear threat and are worried that instead of the parties seeking ways to de-escalate and stop the carnage to lives and property, the tempo of war drumming is still increasing. We are afraid of the continued escalation and its consequence on the people and workers around the world. We need peace to make progress in the globe. Organized labor in Nigeria call for understanding, especially between Russia and the United States, including the EU, to end the war and return to negotiating table. The international community must deploy the time-tested instrument of dialogue to resolve the issue that led to the war in Ukraine, so that warmongers across the nation can be put to shame. On this note, we welcome the peace treaty signed between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which has brought to an end the war in Yemen and is bringing peace to many parts of the Middle East. We note the role played by China in that effort and urge other leading nations to emulate this for global peace. We use this opportunity to once again call for total freedom of the nation of Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Western Sahara, who are under forceful occupation. and repression by Morocco. The entire world remains in bondage as long as these people are in bondage. Let the United Nations pursue their independence now. Western Sahara must be free. Nigerian workers call on the warring generals in Sudan to sheathe their sword for the sake of the people and workers of Sudan. Allowing personal pursuit to destroy a nation and a people is most callous, and allowing themselves to be used as pawns by foreign powers against the wishes of the citizens and serve none of them any good. We call on them to immediately allow the ceasefire already negotiated to hold so that lives and properties will be protected. The AU must step in robustly to restore peace to that nation. We call on the United States of America to stop its economic embargo on the nation of Cuba, withdraw its blockage of the nation. We had thought that the Obama policy would have been geared up to allow for full restoration of diplomatic relations between the two countries. The U.S. remained the bastion of democracy. The U.S. remained the bastion of democratic expression and should allow this find traction in the relationship with the people of the nation of Cuba. In conclusion, comrades and guests, as we wind down our speech, it is important that we understand that no society can make progress by major stakeholders, the workers and the masses, from having equitable share of the national resources. If we are serious about increasing productivity and making progress as a nation, we must seek ways to ensuring that the rights and privileges of workers are not only protected, but they are granted unaffected access to socio-economic justice. To this end, we suggest deliberate action by government to expand and strengthen the nation's existing social security framework. The social investment program ought to be given legal backing by speeding up the legislative process towards codifying it into law. This will deepen engagement in those areas and provide stronger backing to our quest for socio-economic justice to all Nigerians. But this must be done transparently. It is not a system whereby you say you transfer money to the poorest of the poor and nobody can verify this. We don't have database to ensure that this is actually done. There is no verifiable record that is available to Nigerians today to actually know the people that this money is being transferred to. We call for transparency and total auditing of this. It is important that Nigerian leaders understand that without guaranteeing the rights of workers, without allowing workers to win, Nigeria and Nigerians will not win. We are Nigerians. When we win, our nation wins and makes sustainable progress. It is the duty of government to provide the right environment for this to happen. Our nation must live with job-led growth. When jobs grow, income increases and the economy revives higher. But we need to protect those that work in these jobs. To protect them, we must ensure that the right legal environment is created and framework for compliance with laws are established. We therefore demand the deepening of the engagement of NAC and expanding the periodicity of meetings, establishing constant tripartite workplace audit, encouraging the registration of more unions to cover the unorganized sectors, and we should stop splitting those sectors that are already organized. Speeding up the trade dispute resolution mechanism. Action against state governments that are yet to fully implement the 2019 National Minimum Wage Law and all areas of salaries, pension and allowances, etc. Action against private companies nationwide that have turned their workplace as platforms for lawless and dehumanization of workers. This speech will not be complete without making the following demand: that the proposed 1.2 billion USD national census scheduled before May 29, but it has been moved forward now, be halted to allow new administration to handle it. So, and that our cry and plea has also been heeded. That the privatization of the electricity sector be reviewed in favor of Nigerians. Today, government is subtly planning to also privatize TCN. For us, this is a no. The one that has been privatized, we have not seen anything good coming from it. PCN must not be privatized. That the resumption of the ramping up of the activities of kidnappers and bandits since after the election should be quickly addressed. The judiciary should purge itself and redeem our democracy by its handling of the various election petitions before it. The setting up of an independent panel to investigate what truly transpired in our last election. To investigate the spending of 12 billion by the Aviation Ministry to buy 10 fire trucks. To stop the ongoing legislative madness in the National Assembly that seek to stop medical personnel from taking employment outside the country. You should create favorable environment in Nigeria. You should pay them living wage, and you should create the environment that will make them remain in this Nigeria. The solution is not by passing that dastardly thought out bill. We continue the objective of returning the local refineries to full capacity and invest in new refineries, but in short term, sort out the supply bottleneck that has made product availability difficult in Nigeria. The outgoing president must take steps to ensure that those in his administration planning the last-minute heist of national treasury must be stopped. The stoppage of every action program and policy that may inflict any form of suffering on Nigerians and workers. The federal government should not heed not just IMF advice on tax increase, but all of its economic pieces of advice as they are poisonous to our nation's economic health. Once again, comrades, we reiterate our preparedness to resist every action of government to inflict suffering on Nigerian workers and masses. We will not allow our members to be turned meatless into beasts of body any longer. We will stand together as workers, as a people, to protect our right to decent work and social justice. Our hands are extended to you all, to our civil society allies. It is our civic duty to remain together. Our hands join across the divide and the region of our great nation. We build solidarity and we build power. With this, we shall build a nation that will become the envy. It becomes envy of every nation anchored in the supremacy of the right of a sovereign masses. It is our duty to hold our government accountable to the people. Let us guide our lion. We wish workers all over Nigeria. Comrade, before I conclude this speech, we have actually heard that currently there is some madness going on in Owerri right now. As said by the NLC president, that the Imo State governor was trying to institute a stooge that he can control in the hands of affairs of the union. We don't know the business between government and how the leadership of the unions are formulated. They have to put a stop to this. Imo State government right now is disrupting the rally of the organized labor in Imo State. We hereby call on all security agencies. We hereby call on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to quickly call the Imo State government to stop whatsoever is doing today, because the organized labor is going to bring searchlight on that state, and we will not take it lightly with whosoever, whether the person is in public or in private, who want to trample on the right of workers. It is one day out of 365 days that Nigerian workers have to celebrate, and they have to celebrate themselves. So this madness must stop, and it must stop forthwith. So comrades, we wish workers all over Nigeria. Yes, we are going to meet after now, and we will give further direction on what should go on in Imo State right now. We wish workers all over Nigeria and the world a wonderful May Day celebration. It is our day. We shall meet again in 2024. Long live the Nigerian Labour Congress. Long live. Long live the Trade Union Congress. Long live. Long live Nigerian workers. Long live. Long live Nigeria. Long live. Aluta. Continua.